What would you say is the opposite of pragmatism?
In the legal world, I do think the opposite is originalism, which is trying to understand we have a sacred text. We have literally originalism in the United States study of constitutional law is think about what people meant and carry out the law today, interpret the law today as if those people were around. That may sound absurd to your listeners, but that really is how judges, there is a school of thought where judges really believe they are doing that. And I believe that they believe they are doing that. Outside of the law, I think it's a super good question. I don't have a great answer. What comes to mind is a values-based approach. We do things that are in line with value X or value Y. And the reason I'm smiling as I say this is I also think it's incredibly important to have very intentional values and that you should be evaluating your decisions against real no BS values that everyone, including the CEO, has to measure. So I don't like the logic that led to the opposite of pragmatism is values because I use logic models and we are militant about values fit. But I think instead of what does the data say, but I guess it's true, right? Instead of what did the data say, it's because X said so. In our company at SEMA, we make product decisions based on maybe this is the way that this sounds fancy. I'm making it up as I go. We make product decisions based on what's most likely to help us achieve our business outcomes. So that's empiricism, pragmatism. But there are 5 core principles at SEMA because I, as the founder, said so. And I've worked in organizations where there was a collaborative value setting exercise that can work. We're early enough that I think I've learned this the hard way. Early stage companies should not have a collaborative set of values. They should have an incredibly strong set by somebody. And that especially in a small or medium sized organization, to have one person setting them and enforcing them is really to set them, then everybody enforces them is really important. And so I do think because I said so, because X said so is the opposite of empiricism. But you, thanks to your great questions, have persuaded me sometimes there's a place for pragmatism or empiricism or logic models. And sometimes in the same organization, in the same day, there is a place for values. Values conflict could be a driver of people not listening to each other. And obviously, I don't know that situation, but I would be curious at SEMA, one of our values is growth. A subset value is we always ask questions. And practically speaking, everyone is curious. And it would be rare, it would be super, super weird for people not to ask a bunch of questions about a different person's point of view. That's just not how we work. It would be against our values unless we agreed. So I would be curious what the stated and then more importantly, the unstated values are about how folks are operating because the values are the real values, not whatever's on I'm pointing to
Yeah,
an
yeah,
imaginary board as if
yeah,
it's on the wall, but literally
yeah.
when you wake up, you work with some DNA, you have some core principles for how you behave. Unless you're explicit about them and bringing an organization together, they're likely not super aligned. And that can be a huge source of conflict because if you don't understand someone else's values and they're behaving differently in a way that you expect, you don't have trust. If you don't have trust, it's toxic. You just start second guessing everything they're doing.